If you want to let go of past pain, transcend your traumas, expand your consciousness, and reclaim your power to finally be the main character of your own conscious reality, as well as learning about conscious living, you're at the right place. Welcome to Conscious Matters. It's a safe space where we chat about conscious matters, focus on self-empowerment, awareness, holistic wellness, and sustainability. Join me, Melissa DiVieri, for inspiring conversations with myself and some of the most beautiful souls out there. We expand on our experiences and share what we've learned along our healing journey to live in peace, harmony, and mindfulness on a daily basis. Oh, and share with loved ones, and don't forget to take 5 little seconds to review this podcast by just leaving a few stars and kind words. That would really help with the algorithm, so we can spread the message to help more people live consciously. Get your mind, body, and soul ready for a ride in consciousness. Namaste, listeners. I usually talk so much about the power of the brain, which truly fascinates me. Reprogramming our mind, digging into our subconscious, pretty much everything related to what's going on up there. However, since I recently did an episode on health from a 360 perspective, mind, body, and soul, in other words, what true health really means, it made me think and reflect about the power we have inside of us, not only in our brain, but also in our heart, in our breath, in our gut. And I'm pretty sure I'll keep on discovering other sources of power within us. There is no better time than the month of love to talk about the heart. The one responsible for making us feel and connect with self and others. The one that sometimes makes us think that it has a mind of its own. Communicating messages to both our brain and our gut. You know, this instinct that we associate with feeling, something only the heart can create. Literally calling it a gut feeling. To uncover the secrets or maybe the superpower of the heart, I'll be discussing it, or most probably harassed with questions, Dr. Madalina Petrescu, a leading cardiologist at the Swedish Medical Center, also author and practitioner of various conscious healing modalities with the heart at the center. With her husband, Chris, an entrepreneur turned heart intelligence coach, they created the HeartQ method. Backed by the experience and her extensive background in science and medicine, guiding people to reconnect with the authentic selves and the mission of activating our heart intelligence to live a heart-centered, aligned, and fulfilling life. Isn't that amazing? Listen up to this jam. Hello.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let's dive in right away. As you know, we usually give priority to the mind, to thoughts over feelings, since feelings are often considered or at least viewed as weak. It's very rare to associate feelings with intelligence and let alone with power. We usually don't show our feelings, as you know. To move through life, we kind of shove them down. And instead, we bet on our minds, our diplomas, and prestigious position at work. So can you explain to us what is heart intelligence? Because when I looked over what you do and your website and so on and so forth, the fact that you associate these two words, heart and intelligence, I think is very rare. And it also makes a lot of sense. So please, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, absolutely. Heart intelligence is something that every single person has. We all have access. We all are connected to our hearts. And when we're connected to our hearts and we're feeling into our hearts, because while the mind thinks, the heart feels. And we all have that connection that's there. It's not like some people have it and some people don't, and some people can access it and some people can't. The heart intelligence and heart connection is always there. The problem, however, is that, we are raised, unless you're on a different planet, in this world, we're raised to not trust our heart. We're raised to basically not trust ourselves. We're raised to trust our mind. And so here we go. We're born as children, pure love, pure freedom, pure expression, pure feelings. And then stuff happens that makes us somehow believe a story that it's not safe to be who we are. It's not safe to be authentic. It's not safe to feel free in our authenticity. And so there's a trade-off that happens at some point that everyone has in their journeys, where you trade your authenticity for the need to be loved, the need to feel safe, and then you go to the mind. And that's what happens. Most people, in these journeys, unless you're raised by really conscious parents and a conscious society, and then that's what happens. And then people are living from their head. And when you're living from your head and living from thought and unconscious matrix, we call it, it blocks the heart. You block your access to the heart. And then we're living here in the mind. And the problem is that when we're letting the head or the mind be in the driver's seat of our lives, what happens is that the mind gets its information, its intelligence from what we call the unconscious matrix, meaning that there's all this part of that happens within our neural system that is all unconscious to us. We're not even aware. And so there's limiting beliefs, there's patterns, there's unhealed wounds, and all of that is in the shadow, that's impacting the mind. And that's why living from the mind feels kind of this robotic, like automatic, like reactive, and we're just stuck in the mind. And when you're stuck in the mind is numb. You can't feel when you're in the mind. Now you can have emotional, reactions, and that's different. That's triggers. That's just reacting because you're coming from the amygdala. But when you're living in the mind, you're literally completely blocked away from the heart. And the mind actually doesn't want you to go to your heart because then it's no longer in control. And the problem with living from this mind way of living is that all of this stuff that's unconscious is all rooted in the need to be safe and fear. And so that's all of that is operating at the level of stress pathway. It's operating at the level of the survival nervous system. And that's why it feels the way that it feels. It feels scary. It feels fearful. It feels like I need to rush. It feels pressured. Your body's tight. Your body shuts down. And that's what happens when you're living from your mind. Now, heart intelligence is something that you can't think your way to. You can't force your way to. You can't will it. I want to have my heart intelligence now. It doesn't work like that. It's one of those things where instead of grasping and wanting and willing, it's really a way of like surrendering and allowing and embracing. And so what happens is normally you go into this flow where you're slowing down because the mind is always rushing. The mind is always in tomorrow or yesterday. It doesn't want you to stay in the now. It wants you to go all over the place because it wants you to rush because you got to get going because you're pressured by all these patterns and stuff. So with the heart, it's a matter of slowing down a little bit, slowing down. And as you slow down, you're breathing. And as you're doing that, you're coming out of the nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous system. And now from that space of being, because the heart is all about the moment and the now, from that space, you can access the connection to your heart, which is something that you do through feeling.
Sorry to cut you, but before accessing, can you extend or explain the benefits of tapping into our heart intelligence? What are the benefits? What should we do that? Because it's been, air quote, proven that when we use our mind, as I was saying, like through the diplomas, the prestigious positions at work, we can still live a life that is worth living in a way. So what are the benefits of tapping into our heart intelligence?
It's such a good point because when you're living from the mind, you achieve all these diplomas and all of these accolades and you get, and by the way, I was completely there. Okay. Yeah. I had done all of that. I had all the diplomas in the world and all the achievements in the world. And so what happens, the problem with living from that space, it works for some time. For some time, you get this like, oh yeah, I'm loved. I'm recognized. It's all because you're told from outside in. And it works until it really doesn't work. And it's going to happen to everyone. It will work for some point. And then the problem is when your mind is in the driver's seat, that's not the authentic you. That's not who you really are. Those are the masks. Those are the labels. And then those are the projections of the mind. Those are images that we try to fit ourselves into, because if you fit yourself in this image, then you're loved and then you're important and then you're worthy. And now you're living from that place, but that's not you. That's not the authentic you. All of those images, there's this feeling of, I need to, I have to, I should do achievements and be like this and do like that so then I can feel loved. So you're basically constantly denying the authentic self. The presumption of that is that who you are is not enough. So you're living a life where you're constantly basically feeding yourself that who you are is not enough. So you're living a life that's not yours. You have to do more and more and more. Yes, that I have to do more so I can be loved. I have to do it, work hard enough so I can, be received and be recognized. And be worthy. All of that. And be worthy. But all of that is like this endless seeking outside for what can only be felt inside. So it works until it doesn't work, because all of that is coming from inauthenticity. You're living a life that's not yours. And at one point, we call this angle of authenticity. At one point, the misalignment, because you're not coming from yourself, you're coming from all these labels and masks and projections, and you're driving, the vehicle is driving so far away from you that at one point it's going to crash, whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally, in your relationships, relationships, in your work, you're going to be like,
Yeah.
and usually they call it the midlife crisis, like, oh, it's a midlife crisis. Oh, I'm depressed. I need to take medications. Oh, I'm anxious. I got to take medications. You know
It
what I
can
mean?
arrive much earlier than the midlife crisis. Like, especially, I
Yes.
guess, with my generation, around 28, I feel like all of my friends, we all had like some kind of crash and burn and having to fully reinvent ourselves to most of the time leave the corporate. I was 4 years in the legal field, so I'm trained as a legal practitioner. So I obviously had like so many diplomas and the accolades, the right internships, the right positions. But at some point, it was just crashing and just realizing I'm not aligned at all. I'm just fulfilling expectations of others and of myself too. That's why I'm saying sometimes we don't even have to wait for the midlife crisis, even though it's more like the norm. A lot of us are crashing and trying to find ourselves much earlier than that too. But it's the same scenario. We're like, it's gonna end up with burnout, depression, anxiety, or whatever it might be.
And all of those things you're mentioning, because you're right, the midlife is like the big one, but there's so many crises along the way, and now it's happening much earlier because there's an awakening happening. The benefit of living from your heart means that you're living from this feeling of who I am as I am is enough.
Yes.
That's the authentic you, who I am right now, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I am, whoever I like, this me that I am is enough. So that's so different. It's the opposite of when you're living from your mind, which means that the only way you can feel enough is if you accumulate and collect a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to take all these things that I'm accumulating, I'm putting in my bag. Now, because of these things, I'm worthy, which means as I am, I'm not. That's a presumption. From your heart, when you're putting your heart in the driver's seat, it's a way of like, I'm feeling, because the mind is about thinking. The heart is like feeling, and it's coming from love. You're coming from this place of, what do I love? What do I care about? What do I want to do? And you are worthy enough to say that. You're feeling like, you know what? Yeah, I matter. I'm worthy. I'm going to do whatever I feel, not what my dad told me, not what my mom told me, not so I can make the society proud and achieve all these labels so I can look amazing to other people. No, I'm going to be focusing on what is it that naturally comes to me, something that I'm in love with. You're coming from this place of, I'm enough and I am worthy as I am. And then when you're living in life from that space of like, who I am is enough and I'm worthy to just do what I feel because that's what I'm feeling. Now you're going to be able to tap into your true purpose, because your purpose in life is not found in the accolades and what other people think you should do. It's found in what it is inside you that you love. And the greatest way that we can serve others is to be as much of ourselves as that we can be and to let go of those things that is not who we are. So then when you're living life from the space of like what I'm in love with, what I love, what I feel like doing, you're coming from a full cup. You're coming from like, I'm enough. You're coming from love now because you're constantly tuning into what do I feel? What is it that I love? And now when you're going in life and making your choices and making your decisions, there's an alignment that's happening. There's an alignment now because your choices and your decisions are coming from the real you, not the image of you and the projection of you that other people think you should be. Yeah. And when that happens, there's an alignment, and you'll see that because of your relationships, you're working on purpose, and it's also like your emotional well-being. When you're connected to your heart, you're connected to your truth and your light, you're not going to be in depression. Depression is when you've lost your light, I
would even say the alignment brings also a lot of clarity and inner peace, because as you were saying, when you come from a place of love and feel like you're already enough, you just have to be, you don't have to do or be productive or having all of this machinery behind every action that you do, but like do what feels more natural to you. It also brings not only alignment, clarity, and inner peace, but also it builds on your resilience. It builds on courage, feeling like, okay, this is not the norm, but this is what feels true to me. And I will listen to my heart intelligence so it can bring me abundance in every single areas of my life. I feel like
Melissa, that's such a good point that you point out, because it's really true. When you're connecting to your heart, there's all these alignment and there's inner peace. You're in love with life. You're creating what's true to yourself. So there's truth there. It's not like all peaches and roses. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it, right?
Yes.
Like otherwise, why isn't everybody doing it?
Yeah. That's
You
why I
know
talked
what?
about resilience, because it's not
Yes.
easy. Yeah.
Yes. And that's exactly it, because your heart doesn't care about what other people think. It doesn't care about the labels. It doesn't care about, am I loved? Do I belong? Your heart just cares, are you being true to yourself?
Mm.
Are you living on purpose? Are you feeling in life? That's what your heart is caring about. So when you're now living from the space, it could really mess up your life. Because if you're going to do what you know is right and what you feel is right, other people might get upset. You might disappoint others because you're not going to disappoint yourself anymore. Others people might be like, you're betraying me, because you're no longer willing to betray yourself. And now you might be like, oh my God, this job that I've been in for 10 years is totally not for me. Oh my
Yes.
God, this relationship is like not in alignment. So now it can actually be really messy, you know? And some of that happened to me when I realized, why am I like, oh my God, me running around and just doing and serving? Like, where's my space? I need to have space. It can get uncomfortable because now you got to be in your power. You got to be so connected to yourself to choose yourself before you choose what other people think you should do. That takes power. That's true power, actually. That's true courage. And the other thing is the power and the courage comes into, oh, here's my old habit coming in. Oh, here I am in my habit. Oh, wait, that's not true. That's not honest. So what's honest then? And then you get to choose the thing. But that's not easy, because that whole pattern can be charged with like reactive energy. And it makes you want to do that. You might want to blame someone because it's their fault, or you want to judge someone. And then you realize, oh, wait, hold on, that's actually not being honest. It's not easy. Like, there's great parts about it and there's difficult parts about it. And that's exactly what you said, is the courage. It takes courage and power to be in your heart.
And I like that you specified the other part, because yes, is I would say the resistance of others, but also your inner turmoil, the inner conflict within yourself when, as you were saying, like the conditioning and the patterns that you have had for so many years. And now you're trying to listen to your heart or to your heart intelligence, but you also have all of this conditioning in your mind. So now it's kind of the mind versus the heart. And sometimes it takes, of course, courage, but also time. And I will say even some grace that you have to give to yourself to be able to harmonize both, like the heart and the mind, so they can work together beautifully.
I love what you said, because a lot of times when people get into this work, there's this kind of like or mind or heart.
Yes.
And that's not the way of the heart consciousness. The way of the heart is unionization, harmonization. It's not like you versus me. That's what the mind wants to do, to create separation. The heart is all about unifying you and me. You are unique, I'm unique. It's like a flow. So the only difference is that the mind, if you're not engaging the heart, the mind is going to be sitting in the driver's seat, and it's going to be getting its guidance from all this, what we call the unconscious matrix that I talked about. And you're just automatically going and reacting in life and not even realizing, right? But when you're engaging the heart, now you put the heart in the driver's seat, you're feeling, you're tuning, you're in alignment. Now what's happening is the brain is now in training to the heart energy, like Einstein. Einstein, I love this quote where it's like, the heart or the intuition is the gift and the rational mind is a servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So, Einstein knew it so long ago, right? I love that quote. But when you put your heart in the driver's seat, there's even scientifically, because, I'm a physician. So scientifically, what happens is when you're so much in your heart and you create a powerful electromagnetic field, what happens is that the brain now is in training to the heart. And scientifically, you can even see that. And now your heart is leading the way and the mind is working for the heart. And now all this strategization and what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? Now it's all activated, but it's in training and following the heart guidance. And that's how you make it work together. And now you're using the mind for the good of the heart. So there's a really powerful unionization and harmonization that can happen. Exactly.
That's beautiful. Now that we're very clear on the heart intelligence and the benefits of the heart intelligence, how do we access our inner truth through activating our own heart intelligence to create a life of fulfillment and purpose, totally aligned with our most authentic self? You started answering the question before, but I cut you. But I'll let you go back into it and explain.
It's kind of I would say, a 2 phases answer. So one thing, like, how do you actually do it? Because we talk about it, it sounds wonderful. And then you're like, okay, how do I do it? I want to do that. I want to have that obviously. Life, It's like, so one thing that is so important, when you make your heart first, when you put you first, it's so important to make that space for you, so to wake up in the morning and to create in the day space for you to be with you. I call this like a solitude, and it's very different from I'm alone. I'm not alone separating from others. I'm in solitude, connected to my expansiveness, to my vastness, to the fullness that I am. And it's so important because in order for you to be present to yourself and to be connected to yourself, you got to sit with yourself. Just like when you're hanging out with your friends, I'm going to hang out and get a cup of coffee. I'm going to go to work and talk to my colleagues. You're hanging out with others, right? Now there's like a connection with others. It's so important that before all of that, you connect with yourself. And even your connection to others is so much more optimized when you're really deeply connected to yourself. So taking that time and space, I would say in the morning before you start the day to, I'm going to sit with me. And all of that is a matter of, I'm going to be with myself, so whether it's meditation, whether it's, going into the nature or going into, journaling, just creating that space where I'm being in this moment. And when you're being in this moment and I'm feeling myself and being with myself and I'm being present in the now, right here, right now, I am feeling. Because the way that you access your heart intelligence is feeling. It's not thinking. So now you're creating the space to feel myself, feeling all of me. Oh, how am I feeling right now? Oh, I got some stuff coming up. I got some feelings coming up. Oh, what's happening here? You explore that. You become curious. And then there's also a feeling of I'm in love with myself. I'm present to life and to myself and to the beauty that is available out there. The heart is about falling in love with yourself, because the more you fall in love with yourself, then the more you fall in love with life, the more you fall in love with others, and the more you're acting in alignment with your purpose. So taking that time and space in the morning and to be in the space of I'm just being here in this moment with my heart and enjoying this stillness and enjoying this feeling of the connection and tuning in. And that's when you're in that space and you're tuning in, you're breathing, you're connecting to your heart, you're receiving yourself, you're receiving your own love, you're connecting to your own love, and you're filling your cup to the point of overflow. So then when you go to others, it's coming from that place of overflow. So that's what I call it. The heart intelligence is about receiving, it's about feeling, it's about listening. And then you develop that muscle. So that morning ritual, I think, is so important. And then as you go through the day, the way you live from the heart, as we say it, is you go through the day, instead of that rushing pressure, putting out fires, going from one thing to the other, which what the mind and the stress wants you to do, it's a different kind of feel. It's a matter of, I'm going to walk in my life as a prayer. Instead of the mind, normally, it's kind of like think, pressure, react. Think, pressure, react, right? That's what's happening. With the heart, it's more like I'm feeling into what's true for me, listening for that truth, and then I'm doing. You're acting from that place, right? So there's this,
the other way
it's
around.
a different rhythm. Yeah, it's exact. So then when I'm doing, I'm not just automatically reacting all the time, which is what unconsciously happens. You walk in life from that space. So it's a bit slower pace. You're more connected. You're present to yourself, and that's the way of the heart. And when you're doing that, it sounds really simple, but when you're doing that, you're in your conscious awareness. You're listening for your heart to guide you, and then you're doing heart aligned action. So now that's how you create the alignment, whether it's moment to moment or big decisions to big decisions. It's a different rhythm. When you're having the conscious awareness, you're observing yourself. Oh, there I am judging. Oh yeah, there I am, like reacting to this person. I'm coming from my wound. My wound just got activated.
Is that because I think you call that the state of the heart, but isn't that self-awareness too?
Yes, that includes a self-awareness,
but
it's
self-awareness, the way that I see it is more from the mind, but like everything that we talked about is more the feelings and the state of expansion and compassion and grace and forgiveness. That is the state of the heart. Can you explain the relation with the brain then? Because I know that we touched upon the harmonization of both, but now I'm curious because
yes,
when you explain, I think about self-awareness and not the heart. So maybe I'm missing something.
No, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. So the mind awareness, it's basically, you're not connecting to your heart, right? So the mind awareness just coming from this place, but you have your conscious brain. So you're not in the amygdala brain. So that's different. The heart awareness.
Sorry to cut you. Can you explain the amygdala brain for people who don't?
For the people. Okay, exactly. So your brain has basically, I'm just gonna make it really simple. Simplification. The brain is like the conscious brain, the frontal cortex, right? Like right now for you and I, we're activated in that. We're activating this brain right now. We're accessing our conscious brain, we're strategizing, we're thinking, but it's kind of a deeper because it's coming with our heart. When we are reacting in life and when we're just being automatic, and in our patterns and thinking and feeling pressured and like in that stress energy, it's coming from the amygdala. We call this the reactive brain. The amygdala is like when you're having those emotional charged moments, you know, when you're like so reactive and you're mad or you're just like pissed off, when you're in that reactive energy, everything is coming from the need to feel safe and fear. That's when the amygdala is activated. So just to give you like MRI studies, when you're stressed out and you're living in that stress energy, the studies have shown that the conscious brain that you and I are now using is deactivated. It like literally shuts down. And the amygdala is activated. And so I used to be the chair of the board in my group. And when people get all pissed off at each other, it's like everybody's pointing fingers. Like I could almost visualize their amygdala being supercharged and activated. And now they're not even, and I was listening to their conversation. I'm like, oh my God, that doesn't even like make sense. You know, I'm like, how interesting that they're not even aware of what they're saying. That is like so not making sense because they're coming from this reactive energy. Right. And we've all been there when we've said these things.
Yeah.
You know, that's the amygdala brain. Okay. And so the more you're in your stress energy, the more you're using the amygdala. Okay. It's very simple. It's actually very, very simple. The heart awareness is that I'm in the presence of my heart. I'm feeling that there's a pattern coming in. Let's just say I'm a pattern of blame, because that's the one I used to have with my husband. But him and I would have the thing. We get pissed off at each other. I would be like feeling my feelings coming in. I would find myself blaming him for what I'm feeling, right? That's my old energy. My heart, when I'm feeling my heart and being with my heart, I'm like, then it's like there's an awareness that comes from my heart, which is non-judgmental. So I'm saying, oh, here's that pattern of blaming coming in. If I'm not engaging my heart, usually what happens, it's a judging awareness. And it's kind of like an awareness like, oh, here I am doing that. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I thought I was over this. I thought I had, grown.
Here he goes again.
Here he goes again. And then seriously, why am I? And then it's like an anti-me energy. Now I'm creating this anti-hormones that are against me because I'm creating judgment. And by the way, that's called awareness hell. A lot of people get in that road of spirituality and consciousness. They go into this awareness hell because they have a lot of awareness. But if they're not coming from the heart to bring the compassion and to bring the acceptance and to bring the forgiveness, for God's sake, we're human beings. We're all connected. Yeah. Self-forgiveness. So then instead of saying, oh, here I go again, I cannot believe I did that, right? That's the mind awareness. I am blaming and here I am pointing fingers. Well, the heart is saying, okay, all right, you're human. We're all human. There's no person in this planet who doesn't do that. It's okay. I forgive myself and I give myself grace. So there's a heart awareness because you're feeling to the heart and the grace and the compassion and the love. You can't experience that in the mind. It just doesn't work. The mind doesn't feel love. The mind doesn't feel compassion. The mind is thinking and is judging and is reacting, right? But the heart feels. So all it means is you bring this layer of feeling compassion and grace in the awareness that's coming up. So that's what's happening. It's kind of like child is having a temper tantrum. The heart is like that mother or that parent that comes in with the love saying, it's okay. I got you. Yeah, I got you. Go ahead and unfold.
The nurturing part. Yeah.
The nurturing part. And that's what the heart is all about. You're nurturing, but now you're having that within yourself to develop. It's a new muscle, it's something you have to grow, just like you grow muscle when you work out in the gym, So you're just bringing that saying, okay, it's okay. I got me. I'm human. It's fine. I'm loving me as I am being judging, as I am blaming. I'm loving me because the heart feels the love. And it's unconditional. It's not like I'm only going to love you if you do all the right things that I taught you. I'm only going to love you. Yeah. Which is the mind and all these values, So that's actually part of the heart is just giving yourself that grace. You're going to mess up and living a heart-centered life or from the consciousness of your heart. It's not about always being in the heart because it doesn't work that way, right? It's more about, feeling yourself and coming back to the heart. It's like a constant coming back. It's a coming back and returning to my authentic heart self, like the container of love, the container of heart, and living my life from that love, not from fear. That's why, by the way, it feels differently. And then that's why it feels like the peace that you're talking about and then the love you're talking about is because I'm in my heart. You're not going to feel all of that in the brain. You might get an ego pleasure that's different from like the heart
very
fulfillment. Yeah. I'm like getting my accolades. Oh, look, I did it. Yay.
Yeah.
It's
And all
like
of the
it's like a dopamine.
ceremonies and prizes and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say the heart is in the driver's seat and the mind is the GPS?
I would say the heart is in the driver's seat and is guiding the mind, and the mind is strategizing. This mind is a strategizer. So basically, let's just say for me, right? When I realized that, oh wow, I have been living my life in this fast-paced, rushing titles, trying to please everyone, not setting any boundaries. I'm going to do things differently. So now I'm feeling my heart. Okay, I need to create space. I'm going to create space. Okay, mind, I need to create space. Because by the way, the mind always needs something to do. If you
Yeah,
noticed,
that's true.
you can't, it's like the heart is beating, bum
You
bum.
cannot stop thinking. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. You can't. It's like that's why the people don't like meditation, because there's teachers out there saying, don't think, mental stillness.
Yeah, that is
It's
not
like it
meditation.
doesn't work. It's like you're telling people to stop having a heartbeat. Now you're getting the mind to focus on what the heart is telling the mind to focus on, because the mind always needs something to do. But now you're making the mind busy with the thing that's actually in alignment with you. So the mind's going out there, and now my mind is coming up with all these ideas of what I can do to create space for me. And now I'm like, okay, that's the one I like. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that. And then that's how you make the heart mind become a team. The heart is like the heart and the mind team up together. Because if you just only go from the mind is going to say to you, how can you be less of you and be more of what they think so you can be safe? The heart is saying, how can you be more of you and less of the conditioned you?
So you can be happy and fulfilled.
Yeah. So you can live happy and fulfilled in your authentic you. It's very different. So that's kind of like how it is. It's kind of like I'm driving with my heart, and the mind is like, okay, you think I should do? Okay, let me go figure that out. And the mind's figuring it out. But now, because the heart is in the driver's seat, there's even studies that have shown that when the heart is in the driver's seat, there's a state of coherence that happens. Basically, the heart is really powerful. It's sending pathways are activated to the brain, and the brain now is engaging the entire conscious brain. The smart brain is activated, shutting down the amygdala, called this a state of coherence. And you've probably all been there when you're in a state of flow, in the zone, things are happening, and it's like it just feels like a flow energy, and you're creating, you're producing, but it doesn't feel like an effort. That's the way of the heart.
Life can be or take us on a roller coaster. Our conditioning can limit us in so many ways, just like we've been talking about. The everyday stress we experience in our fast-paced and super judgmental society can prevent us from expressing our true self and our true essence and be in that state of the heart to implement heart-aligned actions. So what would you say to people who think that there's already too much to deal with that makes it impossible to be in that state of the heart all the time?
Well, I would say that it's so important when people become aware of what you just said right now, when they become aware of it's so much I have to do. There's so many things I have to in my life. I have all these pressures and I just don't have time to be like in that way. Like that's just not possible. It's very important to realize that the voice, where that's coming from, is the mind. So the mind is always going to tell us all those things. The mind is going to tell us, no, you don't have time. What are you talking about? I mean, I was completely there. I'm telling you, if I did it, trust me, I have 2 kids, husband. I remember when I realized, like, here I was, a full-blown cardiologist, which is like insanely busy, call, schedules, barely sleeping, working morning till night. And I had like all these leadership roles in addition to that. And I was part of the faculty teaching, and I had the 2 kids and my husband. I mean, it's like my mind was saying to me, are you kidding me? There's like 0 time. My meetings, I was heading all the meetings. It all started at 6 a.m. There's 0 time. Okay, I'm glad you got it, because I had all these awarenesses that happened. And then I realized I was going in my journey. And then I was hearing the voice, it's not possible. I have no time. I would say that to myself. I have no time. Other people have time. I don't have time. And so I want to share with you guys that the truth is that the mind will always say that. The mind's going to try to convince you of these things. The mind is, I call this, is the problem creator. It's like the mind's going to create these stories, the storyteller, but these stories are not like good stories. It's not telling you, oh, you got this, it's going to tell you these stories about how you can't, how it's not possible. You have to worry about all these things. Look at all these possible negative scenarios that could happen. That's the mind. So you cannot go there, So then it's about like, no, I'm going to be in my heart. The heart finds the solutions. The heart creates the stage where you can be in that energy, where you can feel into. there's that decision, like I have patients, when they quit smoking or they quit drinking, a lot of times it starts with that decision. And it's like, no, I'm going to do this. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy. I know it may seem like I don't have that, but that's just a story that my mind is telling me. That's not the truth. And I got this. I'm going to do it. And I think the other thing is, so there's always a way out of no way. Whatever things like it's impossible, it's more like I'm possible. So it's really shifting that scripting and realizing that voice inside us is coming from our mind. And then the other thing is to be patient and realize it cannot happen overnight. Like I wish that when I go back in my journey, when I realized it, that my mind like wanted it now. I was like, okay, I don't want to work anymore. I just want to be and just sit and just like meditate and just feel, I was like, I just simply don't want to. So it doesn't work like there's a process. And even that is a journey in itself. It's like embracing the journey.
That's actually smart of the mind, not telling us that it will take time, because I don't think I would have done it, all of this journey, all of this inner work, all of this work to get to the state of the heart, if I knew how much patience I will have to demonstrate. So I guess it's also a benefit of not knowing how long it's going to take you to get there.
Yeah, it's like a journey. It's not about getting there. It's always okay, like I'm going to be in this moment right now with what I am. And sometimes it's going to suck. And sometimes I'm going to be present. And I realize that it's not going to be perfect all the time and in alignment all the time and conscious all the time. And it can be messy. And that's the human aspect, like the grace you were talking about. I'm going to give myself grace in those moments when I really am believing. Again, remember, the mind is always going to try to make you believe all these things about I can't, it's not possible, nobody's here to help me. The mind is going to do that, And where's this book, The Four Agreements? Have you read that book, The Four Agreements?
Yes, I love it. I have the Four Agreements right there.
Oh,
I wrote them down and they're on my door over there.
Him and another Dr. Eric Pearl, one of the things I did is reconnective healing, energy healing. And they say this, and it's so beautiful, that sinning or sin is when you're speaking negative about yourself, when you're slandering yourself, when you're saying these things like, I can't, it's not possible, when you're basically putting yourself down and making yourself small, you're actually going against yourself when you're doing that. When you're saying these things to yourself, and it happens unconsciously, we're not even aware that it's happening, and it's happening, right? So the awareness is like, oh, there I am telling myself this story that I can't. Oh, there I am telling myself this story that I don't have time and I didn't do it good enough. But that's the sinning. I'm just spoke ill of I just slandered myself right now. That's not true. No, and that's why you're checking in with your heart to say, no, I'm going to be patient. Okay, what is the next best step? Not the whole journey right now and tomorrow, but what is my next best step that I can do? Okay, maybe I cannot take an hour to have that space for myself. But what if I can create 10 minutes, So there's like this flow that you can create, like the river, like the waters, you're flowing, you hit a boulder, and now you just redirect, and then you're flowing with your reality. So for me, there was a time I had meetings. I couldn't just eliminate those meetings and say, like, see you guys later. I don't feel like coming into work. Forget about it. You know what I mean?
I'm out.
I'm out. Peace out. It's like, okay, you start slow and you get there. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, wow, what a different way of life that I have now. But it doesn't happen in an instant,
Yeah, we definitely undervalue the power of small actions and small consistent actions. And when you were talking, I was thinking about something because, of course, our mind, the way that it's made, we tend to go to the worst case scenario by default, just like you perfectly explained. But do you think that is by tapping into our heart or our heart intelligence that we are able to rewire our mind afterwards and not always having to go to the worst case scenario, but actually go the other way and be hopeful and empowered and confident in the way that our mind is working in our best interest?
The answer, yes.
Okay.
Now, I wish
it
could be, but this is such a wonderful question because I wish it could be like, I'm going to delete. Sometimes I remember saying to myself, I wish I could just delete
the program. Yes.
All these programs and delete all these pathways and just like, is there some drug or some medicine I can take to just atrophy all those pathways? And then now I can just only listen to my heart, That's, by the way, why people go to medications and alcohol and drugs, because they just can't take it anymore. Like all of these things, like it's driving me crazy why people can't sleep at night. Their mind is so active. Everything. Yeah. But like we were talking, it's a process. Here's the thing. In order to create those new pathways, pathways. It's like, imagine that you're used to walking on the same path you're going to school or your work, and you're walking on the same path every single day. It's easy. It's familiar. It feels safe. I know what to expect. Even if I don't like this path, it's like super easy and I know all about it and it's familiar to me. So it's very easy to go on this path. But now oh wait, there's a better one over there that's filled with magic and it's filled with people I can hang out with and like realizations and conscious. But that path, I haven't laid it out yet. And it's like through the woods and I don't even know where to go. And it's like, it's like in the unknown. Yeah. So now you're going to walk through that new path that you're creating, but it takes time to pave that road, in that new direction. And you got to keep taking it. That's why it's like practice. You got to, like you said, rewiring means I'm going to meditate. I'm going to get myself into that state of going away from the beta activity of the mind, going to the alpha and the theta state where I can actually receive these new pathways and I can actually lay down these new foundations. And then I'm going to keep feeling and feeling, because the more intense your feeling is, the more that you lay down these pathways. And then the more you take that action that now you say, nope, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. And the more you take that new path, now you're getting used to it. Now you're saying, now instead of scarcity, it's abundance. Yeah. And so it's just like, it's just a matter of like practicing it, feeling it. It's like almost like a new hypnosis of rewiring. It's absolutely possible. Our brain is very neuroplastic. And then because even those great things now become unconscious. They're happening without me even trying. So yes, that's how it works.
I love that the brain sends messages to the heart, but it's also the other way around. Like the heart sends messages to the brain so we can rewire our brain in our best interest.
Yeah. And scientifically, what's really interesting that's not taught in schools is that there's more pathways to the brain than there are to the heart. Oh, and that's not known out there.
So the heart sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart?
You got it. So obviously science has a message for us, right? I mean, why would that happen? Why is it like that? But those are atrophied because they're not used. So it's a matter of awakening those pathways. But there's a reason for that, like that's humanity, science. There's a clear message when we realize that. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to my next question, because I've been asking more than two questions. What I found quite interesting is just like, we think thoughts versus feelings and brain versus heart, but you as a doctor, you have a very book-based and scientific training, yet you also have this holistic approach to medicine and well-being and heart consciousness. With heart consciousness, you're not trapped into this dichotomy of these two worlds that are often opposed, when in truth, or at least in my truth, this duality is essential and have to coexist together. So how do you explain that we are not embodying both, and how do we harmonize both together in our life for our own healing and empowerment? I mean, we talked about harmonizing before a little bit, and you just specify a scientific fact that actually underlines everything that you were saying before.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when I was in the science world, and I was only there and I was not conscious, if there was anything about spirituality out there, all these science people would be like, oh, all these
woo-woo thinking,
these woo-woo things and like whatever, like, oh, they don't even know anything. They're just like living in the woods, running around naked, like there's this like weird stories, And I was like, yeah, mainstream. And then when I get into this consciousness, I did so many things. And I noticed that there was a big community that they're saying, oh, all these science mental people, like they're just these guys, they're just living in their mind and science, whatever, So that was so interesting. I was like, wow, like these polarities, out there. And then for myself in my own journey, why is universe, God, or whatever you want to call it, why do we have both? If not to be present to both. We have both. Again, the mind is always going to want to create a separation and like a inferiority versus superiority and hierarchy. That's not truth. That's the ego. That's the ego saying, I am a scientist and I am smarter than these people. And these people are like, oh, your mind, you don't even know anything. You're not awakened, know? And
it's like blaming each other and like judging each other.
But then wearing the label of science and spirituality. And so we just get rid of all these labels. And at the end of the day, we just unveil and uncloak, and we're just here to like live our life in this honest, true, and everything that we have, we use our bodies, we use our minds, we use our heart. And that's really the way of the heart. The way of the heart is unification, is harmonization. The mind wants to be in like these islands, be by yourself, and I don't trust, and all of that, but the heart is basically a team. Hey guys, we are a team. We're going to be a team. We're going to work together, and we're going to put the heart as a team leader. And then things are going to happen. Like you're going to see what happens in that direction versus in this direction. And I've been part of these teams, inside and outside, and things just seem to really flow really well. Think about like the best leaders in the world, the best leaders of the world. Are they the ones coming from love or fear? Are they the ones coming from intimidation or inspiration? So that's really what it's all about. The heart is about not you versus me, this smarter, this lower. No, there's no lower, higher. We're all having unique gifts. How do we work together? How do we use our mind? How do we use research to enlighten people? Because a lot of times for me, I notice that when I even talk to patients or people, there's conscious and unconscious closing. Yes. So it's kind of like the mind is closed. And then and then they're going to be like, oh, what is this whole spirituality? What are you talking about? Being present? I don't have
it's
time
very black or white. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of gray.
But then I use the science to get to their minds. Oh, really? Oh, so I use the science and the proof and all of these to open their minds, to get them curious. And then they're like, oh, okay, then I want to try that. If like research is showing that I can actually be smarter and I can actually be more functional, I can actually have better sleep and I'm healthier if I connect to my heart and if I'm more conscious. Okay, I'm curious. Okay, let's do it. That's really the way of the heart, is to unionize and harmonize and come in a place of coherence where you're working together, functionally working together as a team.
And I love that you mentioned curiosity, because I think that's the key element to harmonize everything. That the more that we open our mind to trying new things, to tap into both worlds, like the more scientific and brainiac world, and also the spiritual and the more deep and feeling kind of atmosphere or approach. And the more that we're curious about it, the more that we try, the more that we find our own custom recipe that works for us, using both the brain and the heart.
Exactly. Yeah, I so agree with that. The curiosity is, instead of being judging, coming from patterns, you're curious, why is this showing up for me right now? Oh, okay, what is it that I can learn? Okay, I don't know what to do. Instead of saying I suck, okay, what is it that I'm here to learn? What is it maybe that I haven't learned yet that I can get good at and I can expand in? Like the curiosity is like, brings us back to that childlike state. Kids are so curious. And when you're curious, you like open doors. You get like, oh, what's in that direction? I wonder what would happen. You start to get curious about possibilities. Whereas when you're in the mind, you just close all the doors and you say, it's not possible. I'm going in this direction. This is how I am. It's so different. I wonder what it would be like for me to try this and try that. And it's trial and error. Oh, okay, I tried that. That didn't work. Okay.
Let's do the other thing.
That's fine.
And the other thing. Do you have simple daily habits that you do to be more conscious or act more consciously in life?
Yes, I have a whole bucket.
I'm pretty sure.
And then, kind of when I wake up in the morning, it's more like, okay, what am I feeling? Like I'm checking in with myself. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling so connected to myself. I'm just going to go meditate, go into nature and journal. And then sometimes I wake up and I realize, oh my God, what is going on with me? My mind is going 1,000 beats a minute. I have like all these worries and I have all these fears and I feel like I'm not safe. And then I say, okay, I can't, like, if I'm just going to go meditate like that, it doesn't work. Right. So then I need, like, I go into ecstatic dancing, expression dancing, or I'll go work out, I'll run off this energy. And so, yeah, it's like, I kind of have a bucket of things, and based on what I'm feeling that I'm needing in that moment for myself, I'll bring those spaces. But it includes meditation as a way to connect and be with myself. Journaling, nature is so powerful. It brings us into our true nature. Dancing, I'm very big on feminine. I'm a woman and I work in a masculine world. So it's about how do I get into my feminine energy? So dancing, whether it's like ecstatic dancing, expressive dancing, working out. I also have like affirmations that I read, that I create for myself, and I listen. So then when I forget and I go off path, I listen to my own truth that I recorded with music to bring me back to, oh yeah, bringing back to myself to remember who I really am when my mind is taking me off in different directions. So there's all these different, buckets that I have, and I just kind of feel into what I'm feeling in that moment. And then I go for one of these or a couple of these.
That's amazing. At least you have many options.
I create, and this is a really powerful one, creating.
Yes.
Creating. Like, I used to believe I'm not creative. We all have something inside us where we get to create, and that actually activates your heart. So I write poems. That's like, I didn't realize that I could do that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like doing that. And now I create poems, I write poems, and that's other things that I do.
But then again, that's the curiosity. Like, let me try that and see, oh, actually, I'm good at it. So yeah, that's wonderful. So connecting to your body and creating different things.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
I'm on the same wagon. So like that. Where can we find you online?
So you can find me on heartq.com, EQIQ. We have this heartq.com, using your heart intelligence, heartq.com. And in there, we have all the programs, that we have created. And, I also have one-on-one coaching. We have this amazing program called Unleash Your Heart. You can find Instagram, HeartQ Official. On Instagram. So yeah, there's a lot out there available that we love to offer to people.
Thank you so much, Madalina. It was a pleasure.
It was wonderful. I love like coming together, in your own conscious and spiritual journey, and my own conscious, and then sharing our journeys together. And, I feel like I got so much out of this. Like, I feel like there was a lot of openings that I had inside me. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I really believe in energy exchange. So I'm very appreciative. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you to have taken the time to listen to me talking about conscious living. Conscious Matters is a self-produced podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, leave a review, and/or donate. Your support will help to keep on raising the collective consciousness together. Take care and talk to you soon.